Good morning, everybody. Lee Brower here, and welcome to this edition of Meaningful Monday. I am grateful to be here. I am glad to be here. Super Bowl weekend. What a weekend. I'm glad that I don't get so caught up in it as I used to get caught up in it, but it brings back a lot of great memories. Not the least of which was my participation in Super Bowl 23. On January 21st, 1989, Cincinnati Bengals versus San Francisco. I was in Joe Robbie Stadium, and I was returning punts for the Cincinnati Bengals. You didn't know that, did you? More about that in just a minute. I get asked all the time, Lee, why do you make such a big deal between values and principles? You often say that values are not really worth that much. Virtuous values are, but what makes a company or a family successful is not the declaration of what their values are. It's the evidence of what their principles are. So if I'm running a company, and let's say I'm sitting in a room with 49 other business owners, and somebody asked, raise your hand if you believe integrity is a cornerstone value of your company, all 50 of us are going to raise our hand. But now you've got 50 different definitions of integrity. Unless you have identical twins with the same experiences and the same thoughts, you're not going to have the same. So when I build a company or a family, and I say, these are our family values, they mean nothing without the evidence behind it. The difference is principles are what we might all agree to. We can agree to always have gratitude. We can agree to begin each meeting or each dinner by sharing a positive focus or by going big and sharing something that's exciting. We can agree to always do what's in the best interest of the customer. We can agree to certain principles and then capture the stories that create the evidence there. If we get to nitpicking on values, that's what con artists do. Con artists will tell you there's 5 ways to tell the truth without telling a lie. I sat next to an attorney one time coming back from Mexico. I might have told you about this. And he handles high-profile cases, felony, murder, rape, those kinds of cases. And I said, wow, that must be really tough to have to work with people like that have committed those crimes. I mean, how do you deal with that? And he says, well, I never ask them anything about, I get all my information directly from the police. I don't ask them if they've committed the crime. I don't want to let the truth get in the way of my job. Wow. Sometimes there is 5 ways to tell the truth without telling a lie. Now, what I told you at the beginning, when I told you I returned punts from the Cincinnati Bengals, I will swear on a Bible that every word I just said was absolutely true. However, anytime you tell somebody something with the intent to deceive, whether it's true or not, it's still a lie. So by that definition, I lied to you. On January 21st, I might have said 22nd, I said 21st. On January 21st is what I said originally. That was the Saturday before Super Bowl Sunday. And yes, I was traveling with the Cincinnati Bengals, and yes, I was out on the field, and yes, I was returning punts that was being kicked by Lee Johnson, but it was on Saturday. And yes, it was in Joe Robbie Stadium at the time, which yes, that is the Super Bowl. But anytime you tell somebody something, whether it's true or not, with the intent to deceive, it's still a lie. And we get caught up in today's world that we don't want to let the truth get in the way of what we're doing or the impression that we want to make or where it's going. Well, no, it was the truth. I told them the truth. And we see it in our politics, we see it in our government, and we see it in our business. That they find ways to maneuver the words around. Let's be different, shall we? Let's be different. Let's be principle-based. Principle-based says, I will never tell somebody something to deceive them, whether it's true or not. That's a principle that we can all agree to do, regardless of whether we consider ourselves to be honest or not. So look at yourself and ask yourself, what principles are you willing to stand for? What principles could you identify within your family? What principles could you identify within your company? And agree that this is what we always do, and then gather the stories that prove it. Thank you for letting me share this with you. Always interested in your thoughts. Always interested in your suggestions. Have a marvelous week, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.